Welcome back. This lecture is part of a 2-lecture mini-series. We're going to start looking at it now as we talk about objectives, and then we'll revisit this when we start discussing assessments and activities to meet those goals and outcomes. First, let's check out this clip from the movie The Matrix. There are 2 curse words in there, so please be advised. Also know that I found this clip online and is being shown for fair use educational purposes only. It is copywritten by Warner Brothers Pictures in 1999. The volume might be a little low, so you might want to turn up your speakers or look at the clip transcript, which is linked underneath this video. Pause me, I'll wait. Alright, ready? Let's check it out.
Now, let's get started these operation programs first. Let's make some more machine. Let's do something a little more fun. How about combat training? Jiu-jitsu. I'm going to learn jiu-jitsu. Oh shit. You like it. He likes it. Want some more? Oh yes. Oh yeah. And 10 hours straight. Some shit.
Alright, so how many times has this happened in our classes? A student shows up to class and starts looking over the syllabus, course materials, maybe a reading list, and says, I'm going to learn jiu-jitsu? Like they can't even believe that you're going to teach them something so cool and complex. And you, like Tank, just kind of wink and smile a little because you know the path and the design. You know the flow and how you can help your student to get exactly where they need to be at the end of class. Now look at the end of the clip. Neo wakes up and tells Morpheus, I know Kung Fu. And what does Morpheus do? Say, good, or great, go get him, Tiger. No, he tells Neo, show me. Even though Morpheus witnessed all of that knowledge getting downloaded directly into Neo's head, Morpheus realizes that just because a student knows something doesn't mean they know how to use it or what to do with it. As the next scene in the movie shows us, Neo still has a lot to learn once he put those skills he knew into practice. If you have not seen The Matrix, by the way, I recommend that you check it out. So, let's talk a little about how you know when your students have become Kung Fu masters, or whatever awesome skill you might be trying to teach them. Authentic tasks and assessment are going to be the key to realizing mastery in an online course. We're going to talk more about authentic tasks, assessment, and how to create them in the module on assessment and activities. But for now, let's look at the process for assessment. First, you start out with your objectives, which are your roadmap for instruction. Where do you want the students to be and do at the end of the course, module, lesson, etc.? Next, you choose a task that will allow the student to demonstrate the knowledge and skills that they have. You determine what the criteria for mastery looks like, or really, how do you know when a student has reached mastery? Next, you develop your assessment tool. For most authentic tasks, that's typically a rubric. Again, we're going to talk about this more in the module on assessment, but for now, let's just look at the objective and roadmap portion. When you are designing your course, you have to have an end game in mind, not just for your course, but for the modules that you will create for your online students to follow. In the DE Readiness course, we have modules that are based on 1-week time periods and stick to a theme or content topic. That topic has been then condensed into items that are easily consumable for an online student, or chunked. Chunking is one of the most beneficial design principles when looking at the overall scope and flow of your courses. Student availability varies greatly for your online students. In a face-to-face class, you know that your students don't have anywhere else that they are scheduled to be during your class time, at least technically. So you have their attention for 50 to 90 minutes at a time. Online, a student is more flexible and may not have a consistent hour block every other day. So keeping your content in manageable chunks allows the student to work at their own pace, stay engaged without checking out due to overly long assignments, and curbs that overwhelmed on my own feeling that happens in some online courses. There is a 4-step process that can help you with making sure that these chunks cover material you want the student to engage with. The first step is identifying the goals and objectives. In order to assess whether or not your students have succeeded in your course and mastered all of the skills that you would like for them to have, you must have goals and objectives for the course. So how are they different? Well, let's look at this diagram here. Departmental mission and course standards are set by the individual departments or governing body, like the professional standards for teaching special education outlined by the Council for Exceptional Children. These standards are the same no matter who is teaching the course. For example, there are 2 different faculty members who are teaching COM 314 currently. The overall material that is covered in the course will be addressed by both of these faculty members. They are the course standards set by the departmental mission. Another distinction between mission and standards is their breadth of coverage. The statements above the black line in the diagram should be brief and broad, yet still define expectations for the students. With the course goals and objectives, we start to narrow with the concepts and ability to measure the outcomes of the statements. These are more focused on the course of the purpose of the material. Think of the course goals as a focus and emphasis from the faculty member themselves. This is what the faculty member really wants their students to get out of the course. So going back to our COM 314 example, while the same information is being covered in the course, Dr. A might focus on the writing part of the course, while Dr. B might focus more emphasis on the research component. This difference of emphasis would be noticeable in the course goals that they would incorporate. Moving down the pyramid, statements of what students should know or be able to do become more narrow and consequently more numerous within a curriculum. The most specific and numerous is the objective. Objectives are typically written at the level of the lesson plan with 1 or more objectives for each lesson. Best practice suggests that you write no more than 3 to 5 objectives per module. Remember, for every objective you write, there should be an assessment to measure mastery. The first thing is to identify these objectives. These are typically between 3 to 5 observable and measurable statements that cover what you want the students to be able to know or do. When I say measurable and observable, objectives should be written so that 2 people could look at the demonstration or product and say, yes, the student did this. There shouldn't be any kind of ambiguity or subjective components or words. You'll see what I mean when we start practicing writing goals and objectives in a few minutes. Remember, these should be SMART. Specific, not too broad or all-encompassing. Measurable, able to judge accurately. Attainable, especially important in an online course. Make sure that your students can actually reach these goals and objectives with the resources and time frame available to them. Relevant, the goals are set to impact not only the students' learning but also their future and personal goals. And time-bound, able to complete in a specific time frame, by the end of this module or by the end of this course, etc. So how do you write these kinds of objectives? Well, start by reflecting on what you have done in the past and what you hope to cover for the future. Think about your former students. How did you know that they really got it? What did the ones who didn't get it look like? What do you want them to do? Look at your departmental standards. Before progressing in your program, what should they be able to do before they get to the next course and sequence? What were some complaints that you've heard that students should be able to do blank and they just don't? Or they're going to need to do this in the field, so they better start now. Think beyond just the content and get into the hidden curriculum of what they should be able to do as College of Charleston grads. Review other materials and courses. Are you teaching a course that other faculty in your department are also teaching? What do their goals focus on? Talk to the colleagues that teach in sequence right before your class or right afterwards to see where your students are coming from before they get to you, the skills they should already have, and where they are going when they leave you, or the skills they need to continue. If you already have goals or objectives listed for the course, review them. Do they need to be adjusted or adapted for your online course? Do they still cover what you wanted them to initially? Do they need to be removed and refocused on your content and overall outcomes for the students maybe? The last thing to do when writing objectives is to, well, Write them! Look at your verb phrases. Avoid using words like know, understand, or appreciate, as they are too ambiguous and cannot be measured. Instead, look at Bloom's taxonomy and use some of the words that align with what the student should do: create, synthesize, evaluate, and the like. For examples of these words and helpful charts, visit the additional resources for this module. Make sure that these statements are not too broad and can be easily assessed throughout your course. Remember, any goal that you have written needs to be assessed in some way throughout your course design, and you will need to help your students get there as well. This is also why you want to limit your objectives to 3 to 5 to make sure that you not only have clear and concise goals, but that you also have the ability to assess them all thoroughly. Also, make sure that you aren't referring to a specific task that the student will do. For example, the student will create a portfolio. Well, why are you having the students create a portfolio? What are you actually assessing and looking for? So let's try this out. There's a URL on your screen now. If you would take a moment and enter it into a new browser window, what it's going to do is prompt you to make a copy of a document that we can all look at together. I'm going to click on the link to show you what it looks like. And yes, it is case sensitive. All right, let me move my window in here. It's going to bring you to this screen, copy document, and it will ask you to make a copy of TLT 234. Why, yes, I would. Thank you, Google. You're so helpful. So, here's an example of a fake course that was written using a real course description in the CofC catalog. Take a minute, pause the video, and read the course description and listed objectives. Go ahead. I'll wait. Take a look at the first objective. Do you think it's well written? Why or why not? Actually, this one isn't bad. It's specific and measurable, even if it is on the lower end of the Bloom spectrum. Sometimes you just need some basic knowledge to build on, and this is an intro class. It's attainable. At the end of an intro class, you should definitely be able to identify these characteristics based on the description of the class. Relevant? Could be done a little better. Yes, it's relevant to the course content, but how could we make it relevant to the students? Time-bound is related to the end of the course, so it follows our SMART principles. Now let's take a look at number 2. Do you think it's well written? Why or why not? So this one needs some work. Right away you can see the word appreciate, which is on our list of unmeasurable words. You can't measure someone appreciating something. How could we change this to be a more measurable goal? Alright, what about number 3 here? Do you think it's well written? Why? Why not? Well, this one starts out really well. It follows our SMART formula, but then they added the ending using a Venn diagram on it. This refers to a specific task that students will do, not the skill that a student needs. If we take off the ending, then the objective reads a little better. Do you have any other suggestions for how to rewrite this objective? Now it's time to practice in your own courses. One of your assignments for this module is to reflect and outline your objectives in the course planning document. Remember, your mentors and I are here to help if you want to bounce ideas off of us, and also take advantage of your partner, even if that sounded a little wrong. When reading your partner's document and giving feedback, refer back to this practice and really provide some quality feedback to get them start thinking about toward the future. There are also additional resources available in this module if you'd like to learn more. So stay smart, DE Readiness course.